Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast, the Bundesliga podcast covering everything that there is to know in the English language about Eintracht Frankfurt, the greatest club in the Bundesliga, the greatest club in Germany, the greatest club in Europe, and you know damn well we're biased on this one. Garret Komat's here in Metro Detroit, Warren to be exact. I'm not alone today. Before I name my fine colleague joining me this evening, want to just kind of fill people in on the ways to check out anything that is the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast. First off, we are on Twitter. Some still call it X. I'll always call it Twitter at HEFPod. You can also go to hefpod.com, which has all of the information from basically prior episodes, fun information, everything into there where you can find different people, etc., as well as you can reach us if you want to old-fashioned way by email. That is heyeintrachtfrankfurt@gmail.com. We've mentioned, I'm not saying we will read any responses if they come in, but you never know. Give it a try. See what happens. Now going into that and going through all those promotional bits, kind of welcome my colleague in tonight from the mighty East Coast, Delaware to be exact, a man that has experienced many joys in sports and many painful moments, kind of like myself. Mr. John Ben, how are you this evening?
Doing all right. I got a Monday Night Football in the background, although my football team kind of shot the bed this weekend. But hey, you know what? Our European football team didn't do so shabby, so I'll take it.
I got to give you guys credit, though, because I'm an AEW fan, and
Yeah.
To give you a rundown for those that know, John's a Jacksonville Jaguars fan when it comes to the NFL, which is owned by the Khan family. So they had believe it was a Lucha Libre, AEW had a match at the field before the game Browns-Jaguars happened, and I think it was a Lucha Libre-infused tag match. So, you know what? Fair play. People got their money's worth. In these days, that's all you can really ask for. But now we got to talk about really getting our money's worth, and that is our dear Diadler. Kind of for segment one, we're going to cover basically what took place with the men this weekend, and then segment two, kind of review like what's been going on with our Frauen in the last couple weekends. So why don't we start off with the men? They had a road match this weekend, back from international break. A trip to Wolfsburg to take on VfL Wolfsburg. The debut of the Hunter Orange third kits, Osvar Tricot, I believe, is the correct pronunciation on there. And I'll admit, I didn't get to actually check all of the match out until Sunday. Had some family things to take care of, but I did see the results. Eintracht Frankfurt going in on the road, taking care of business, a 2-1 win over VfL Wolfsburg. Omar Marmoush, I think, really loved playing his former team.
He seems to hate him. I love it.
Yeah, scoring the first goal on a breakout, looking like he didn't want to show respect. He gave him the supporting bed, the business day, hands over the ears stayed. End of the first half, a little bit unfortunate. Kevin Trapp goes to do a goal kick, feels that muscle popping I'm not sure what the exact thing in there, but I've had that feeling before with my groin playing intramural soccer in 2010. That is not fun. In comes Coa Santos, the 21-year-old Brazilian. He finishes the game in goal. Wolfsburg getting equalizer in the second half. A great strike. However, Eintracht Frankfurt with a penalty handball. Omar Marmoush buries it. Celebration. Away when done. So, John, I'm going to get to I want to get your thoughts. First off, give me your thoughts on the all orange. And then what were you thinking of a team shape that all of the same starting 11 from the game against Hoffenheim, but a little bit different than the last match?
Yeah. First of all, the orange, I liked it. I like it a lot. Obviously when you see the jersey up close, the shoulder template is still annoying, but from afar It looks good. And yeah, the match was interesting. Obviously it was the same lineup, and for the first 20 or so minutes of the game, we were still doing that 5-3-2-ish kind of thing, and Wolfsburg carried most of the possession. And then it didn't generate too many good chances. Our defenders cleared the ball very, very well. But then about 20 minutes in, Dino, they showed the highlight of him just showing the four, and Nkunku moved up into the midfield, and then we had a back line of four, and really kind of started to take control of the game after that. I thought the play between Teata and Nkunku on that left side was really nice. It also allowed Skiri and Larson a little more ability to take care of some of the Wolfsburg players, because when they were trying to work with a lot of the space that was given by us being in a back five, it wasn't getting the job quite done. I don't think Götze played necessarily great in those first 20 minutes as well in that midfield. So I think that adjustment was really good and allowed us to take control of the game.
I agree with you definitely on the looking like when we got into that four in the back. Mario, well, it looked like Rasmus Christensen was content staying in the back. Mario Götze decided to tuck in as a right midfield. I feel like maybe the way Wolfsburg played, do you really also feel like that allowed Dino and the squad to fully utilize that blistering pace that Ekitike and Marmoush have, and it seems like what they have being paired together?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good because, they were attacking a bit, and on that counter for our first goal, Larson just kind of hit the ball forward, and it turned into be a really great play. Ekitike sprinted that ball down and then played a perfect pass on a 2-on-1 over to Marmoush, who rounded the goalkeeper and put it in. Being able to generate those chances with those players is so massive. When they get the ball with the ability to run with it, they're unstoppable.
Yeah, and I think that wasn't just the only moment, and even before the penalty, there were moments before Wolfsburg's equalizer where it just seemed like we were creating chances. Ekitike was just giving fits, Marmoush giving fits. Faris Shaibi, I got to give a shout out to him because Faris Shaibi came on for Mario Götze at the half and took in that right midfield role. Couple of great quality looks by him in there too. Seems like that was, I think, the most explosive I've seen him play in a while. And I felt like, you could have said that you wouldn't have been surprised if this Eintracht Frankfurt would have had a multi-goal lead despite not really having the ball, which is always funny when then Wolfsburg equalizes. Just a great little move, a little bit of space. And, I thought Koa Santos did pretty well when called on, but I don't think it would have mattered who was in goal. That ball was going in. When it became that point, John, were you concerned that was going to be 1-1, or did you feel like this, you were we're going to get this one back?
No, I don't think. I wasn't too concerned. I think that, bringing Chaibi on for Götze was a really good move. Obviously, he got a yellow card a minute into the second half after coming on, and for about 15 minutes or so, it took a minute to settle in. And once he did, was just creating so many chances with the front line. I think he hit the post once, Matanovic hit the post once. We were creating a lot more dangerous chances than them, so I wasn't too worried. Also, I thought it was interesting, too, on that goal. They reviewed it a long time for offside because it kind of looked like Jonas Vind, who was in an offside position, kind of interfered with Santos's vision on that. I don't think it would have mattered anyway because the shot was absolutely perfect, so I don't mind them giving that goal. But, again, Santos had no chance on that one, and it was kind of a one-off. We let Reed Labaku have way too much space and put a perfect shot in, and then we went right back at it and created some more chances and got the penalty to win the game.
That moment, handball went in the box. Did you feel like there was going to be potentially anybody else at that point other than Omar Marmoush, or was it like this is his game to win or not get there?
It had to be Marmoush. I know that theoretically you could put Matanovic in that penalty spot, let him get his first Bundesliga goal of the season, but it kind of seems like Marmoush is our penalty guy, especially with Ekitike already taken off, and he buried it. He's shown to be a good penalty taker, so I don't think it could have been anyone else.
After that win, it kind of surprised me in a way. Match day 3, you went on, and I don't know if it was winning on the road, winning in a place we haven't won a whole lot of. I'll get to that point later on. Or is Coa Santos coming on in there? This team fucking celebrated this to me, John, like when we won in Sevilla, and a mini version like that, or maybe when we beat Sporting to get to the group stage in Champions League. That type of thing to me. Is it just one of those wild days, or is this just a sign that this team really enjoys being together and camaraderie?
I think it's the latter. This team seems to really gel, and I think it was massive to not have such a huge turnover over the summer again, and the team is clicking. It's really fun to watch. Obviously, our fans were really into it this game. I loved that choreo making fun of Hasenhutl's graveyard comments. And I think that really set the tone. I mean, on the walkout, you could see Trapp kind of laughing as they were walking out. Like, it was good vibes.
Yeah, and I think, you know what? It's a dangerous game to play as a manager, calling out your own fans. But you know what? And I know Ralph Hasenhüttl from his time, in the league with my English Eagles, and when Ralph Hasenhüttl managed at Southampton. I know that's his style. He's aggressive in his play, and he can be aggressive in his mindset at times. But you know what? I kind of don't think he was that far off when you think about, until Wolfsburg equalized, like, you could fucking hear a pin drop, except in that away end, to me, it felt like. And it's not like it's a bottom squad, right?
No, not at all. I mean, Wolfsburg is usually a decent side now. Obviously, it is in Wolfsburg, so they probably don't have as big of a possibility of a fan base. I gotta say, their fans were definitely better in this game than they were in that Bayern game where he was criticizing them, because that was pretty atrocious. But again, it's just not. It's not the same as like a Frankfurt or a Stuttgart or a team like that.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, big win for Die Adler, which brings me into. I'm not going to call this a fucked up stat time. I'm going to call this a not so fucked up stat time. Eintracht Frankfurt's first win against VfL Wolfsburg since April of 2021, which was a 4-3 win at the Waldstadion. And Adi Hütter, Eintracht Frankfurt defeated at the then Oliver Glasner, managed by Wolfsburg, before he goes to Frankfurt and wins them a Europa League. It was the match before the announcement Adi Hütter was going to be going to Borussia Mönchengladbach a few days before we went to Borussia Mönchengladbach. And the last time that Eintracht Frankfurt won in Wolfsburg, May 30th, 2020, in the pandemic, I believe it was an Andre Silva show, and that one 2-1 win for Die Adler, kind of in a quiet fan base, which some people kind of feel like nothing much has changed in Wolfsburg since the last 4 years. But, like I said, not as fucked up as some of our other bits on there.
I thought it was pretty funny that Gary Preston, the commentator, was constantly mentioning that Wolfsburg hadn't lost to us in 6 games, and that they had never failed to score against us as well, which is kind of a fucked up stat, I guess.
Oh yeah, I've seen them do it against us in like stoppage time.
Like, yeah, they always find a way to get one. Like
Easter, you were just reminded me of this. Easter Monday, after we beat Benfica to get to the Europa League semifinal, like I think it was Jonathan de Guzman's last goal for us, if I recall right. And then they fucking scored at Stapo to draw against us. And I was like, damn it. So, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those fixtures. Those can be like that in any league that you play. But
yeah, you have your bogey teams. It is what it is.
Yeah. The Laune Stiba, after all, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, it's just one of those fixtures. Those can be like that in any league that you play. But you have your bogey teams. It is what it is. Yeah. The Laune Stiba, after all, right? So, you with that big one, congrats to Dino, congrats to the lads. Hell of a win. And I think the fun thing is we don't normally like to go into XG. I mean, I kind of like to do it just to piss off Chris. But I think the FOTMob XG is a little bit lower than the Bundesliga app XG and what the Bundesliga graphic bars were showing after that match and during the highlight show. FOTMob is showing that we won 2-1, but we had an XG of 2.53. And I believe the Bundesliga one was saying we had 3.0. Yeah, they have it at 3.07. Which when you look at the fact that Wolfsburg had 2/3 possession, we had almost as many shots, more shots on target, 3 times as many, almost 4 times as many big chances. And we were the physical side committing the fouls. I mean, I felt like, yeah, this is early game. This is still middle of September. There's a lot of football left. We haven't started Europa League yet. Any of these things, right? But I already feel like one of the things that we've been talking about, whether it's been on this show or in our circles of chats, Discord, Twitter stuff, anything else, is we wanted to see some aggression from this side. And I think now, even maybe tiny glimpses of it in Dortmund, but definitely in these last two, I feel like we're seeing that now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the possession is what it is because it's really what you do with it. And
right,
Wolfsburg wasn't really able to do much. Our back line shut down all of their attempts to get into the box. I mean, almost all their shots that weren't off of corners were from outside the box, and obviously that's where their goal came from too. Really, the only dangerous shot they had inside was that first corner, but Wimmer was in an offside position anyway.
How concerned are you with Kevin Trapp's injury, or you feeling like this is a good opportunity for young Koa Santos to make his mark?
I have a lot of faith in Santos. I think he looks really solid. I've liked what I've seen from him. He did really well with Eintracht Frankfurt 2 last year as well. Obviously, I'm concerned with Trapp's injury because he has been our rock for so long and is still a good player. And you know what, though? Jens Grahl has come in and done decently as well at times, so it's okay. Obviously, it's very much less than ideal, especially with the European competition starting up. But I think that Santos can get the job done.
Yeah, and I think he seems motivated. I think he got down to I think it was like a moment of prayer, jubilee after it in that moment, and the team was just giving him the joy like you see in baseball here when a guy gets a walk-off play and immediately it's just the water, it's the bottles, or fucking if it's Matty Vierling after home run against the Jays for us, he got the some sort of powder or whatever it was. But yeah, I think it's, like I said, I feel it's good signs. I hope the best Kevin Trapp is quick recovery on there. Like you said, a rock, a pillar. When you think about the old guard, and Sebastian Rode, Makoto Hasebe retiring last year, Martin Hinteregger retiring a couple years ago, he's really the last rock, I feel like.
Yeah.
And, that is, I hope it's, he can quickly get to that on there, so that way this doesn't become the beginning of the road for him, because I think he deserves so much more than that. On and off the field. So all the best, Trappo. We get all of us at Half Potter wishing you well on there. And we'll also, get well soon. But we'll keep the faith. Going around the Bundesliga. I've caught all but 3 of these highlights, but I'll name off all the scores. Dortmund, Heidenheim starting things off on Friday. 4-2 win for Dortmund. Still no goals yet for Sherigursi, but Adeyemi with 2 for Dortmund in that match. Hell of a fight though by Heidenheim there, by the looks like. Another one of those things, like stat-wise, Dortmund had the possession, but Heidenheim made it an interesting game. VfB Stuttgart got off the mark with a 3-1 win in Monchengladbach. Undav and Demirovic with a brace. Dennis Undav having a great week. I know he opened his account for Germany during the international break. So moving on to the Black Forest Freiburg coming from behind to beat Bochum 2-1. Leverkusen, how were they?
Game too.
Yeah, I almost felt like with Bochum was going to steal that game. But then Freiburg fought and they won it late.
A very lucky goal.
Sometimes, that's sometimes that, when you put the effort in, you have some luck benefit you on there.
Absolutely.
How is Bayer Leverkusen going to react after their undefeated streak ended? Going to a place that has, I would say, not been as friendly to the host as visiting teams in Hoffenheim lately. You'll have to give me an update on the situation. I know we talked about last time I was on, but Leverkusen rebounding. Hoffenheim 1, Leverkusen 4. Victor Boniface with 2 goals and an assist for Martin Terrier, who opened his account up for Bayer Leverkusen. What were you seeing from Hoffenheim, whether in terms of protest against the club, and also how Leverkusen rebounded from the 2-goal blown lead and lost to Leipzig?
Yeah, I don't have all the details on Hoffenheim's situation right now, but I know they went through a little bit of change on their board over the summer, and because of that, they had a huge turnover in their front office, and their fans have been really upset with that. Obviously, it was a new SAP person who took over, and now they want them out, and they've been protesting the game, like going to the games and making noise. So it's been pretty dead in Hoffenheim, even more than normal. Leverkusen, I'm not surprised that they rebounded the way they did. They're still an amazing team. What the hell was Boniface doing for his celebration, though? Pulling down his pants.
I haven't seen it yet. I hope it's on the highlight video. I hope it isn't. I hope it is, just so I can see this shit.
He pulled down his pants in front of the crowd, and there wasn't an angle from the front, so I don't know exactly what he did, but it was very questionable. To say the least.
There's a lot of interesting shit in the sport and out of the sport these days. So when you say something like that, Bundesliga, I'm just going to say this. The highlight show, from what I've seen so far, has been great. The coverage has been there. You give show the controversial moments. If this isn't the highlight, then we got to talk. Leipzig 0, Union 0. This is one of the 3 that I haven't also seen. I mean, 0-0 doesn't really feel like much to really talk about here. Looks like Leipzig had the ball, had some XG, same amount of shots on target, but, drop points by Leipzig. We already talked about our joyous moments in Lower Saxony against Wolfsburg. I feel bad for Holstein Kiel.
That was tough.
They've come into the Bundesliga. I know Chris has them staying up. I have them going down just because I really don't know how much about them. Fought hard against Hoffenheim in their opener 3-2 loss. Lost to Wolfsburg 0-2 just before the international break. And then they welcome in Bayern Munich, who really were rude to them. Holstein Kiel 1, Bayern Munich 6.
They're lucky.
Do we have anything nice to say on this one, or
no? The only reason they were able to score was because they got a good counter after it was already 5-0 or whatever for Bayern, and Bayern kind of slowed down a little bit. I mean, Bayern scored 15 seconds into that game and just never looked back. They were completely dominating. I mean, obviously Bayern is an incredibly talented team, so it's not a big surprise there. But yeah, that was an ass whooping.
Did it remind you, now that we're talking about this, does it remind you about how we opened up the 22-23 campaign, losing 1-6 to Bayern and Cole Mawani getting a breakaway goal, 5-0 down? Is it literally just Holstein Kiel's version of that?
I think it was even worse than that, to be honest.
Oh God, we have reached levels in that threshold talking about that. Moving to the Sunday fixtures, also rough for New Boys, St. Pauli, who, have fought well. Augsburg, I think, needed a wake-up call after getting smacked 4-0 against Heidenheim, where they had some moments, but Heidenheim pulled away, and that did not happen today here. Augsburg 3-1 winners.
St. Pauli had the guy.
Yeah.
Marius Wolf got a goal, his first goal for Augsburg. That was kind of funny to see.
Yeah, great little goal by him to open things up, coming in on that on the right hand side, and then cutting inside with his left foot. Plenty of space given. Reminded me of a goal Detroit City gave up to concede to give up a win and a draw in stoppage time in August. I was not at that game. Unfortunately, Chris was. And you know how bad it is? Have you ever gotten a text from somebody at the game and it's real time and you haven't seen it yet because somebody's literally texting you the moment some fucked up shit happened? That was that moment. So, but that was what Wolf's goal reminded me of, because the guy that did it also is his left foot. I think, yeah, I mean, that was the type of game that, if you are an admirer of how Augsburg played with Jens Thorup, who was announced getting a coaching extension, he's put the work in for that. I think he's definitely deserved it. But how was Augsburg going to react, especially with some turnover? They look like they're kind of on there. Can they keep that momentum going? And then in the Rhineland-Palatinate, former, neighboring and very close to us, but not close as far as relations, Mainz 1, Werder Bremen 2, joy. And Werder not only did it with 10 men, they scored the goal in the nicest minute possible.
That they did.
You got anything on that, or are Mainz actually toast this year?
I didn't get a chance to watch that game, so I don't have much to say about it. I don't think Mainz are toast this year because I think the bottom three is pretty clear right now. And Augsburg made a statement beating Pauli 3-1. I still think that Augsburg and Mainz may have a possibility of dropping into 16th, but I think that they both have good enough coaching that they are not really going to face that. And I think that Mainz have a lot of talent as well, where they're not going to be in trouble. I don't see how Pauli, Kiel, or Bochum really survive. I know Bochum creates some magic at home sometimes, but yeah, I just don't see it this year.
Bochum have put themselves in a rut each of the last 3 years at some point, whether it's starting a season or ending a season. I had them staying up, although they're not giving me anything. And you know what? I'm looking at it. Well, Mainz hasn't collected. Let's see here. Mainz has got 2 draws and a loss so far, but even in this loss here, it looks like they're a physically stronger team and a good possession wise. I mean, good numbers with shots, passes, on targets and everything. But they got to get. I'm looking at their first 3 so far, and you know, you have Union 1-1. You had a goal. You had that. You blew it late. Impressive draw against Stuttgart. It looks like they did. I was talking about, I think Holstein Kiel lost to Hamburg in a friendly during the international break, and Mainz lost to Darmstadt. So is that the moment where bad luck hits? I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see there. So at the table right now, Bayern are tops, 3 for 3, 11 scored, 3 allowed, 9 points. Dortmund and Leipzig equal, 7 points. Heidenheim, Leverkusen, Frankfurt, Freiburg, all with 6 points from 4th to 7th. Werder Bremen, Union Berlin, 8th and 9th each with 5 points. 10th and 11th, Stuttgart and Augsburg with 4 points. Wolfsburg, Monchengladbach, Hoffenheim, 12th, 13th, 14th with a win and 2 losses each. Mainz, 15th with 2 draws and a loss, 2 points. And then, as you mentioned, John, the bottom 3, Bochum, St. Pauli, Holstein Kiel, each with 0. Holstein Kiel with the most painful goal difference. Anything in the table surprising you right now, or is it kind of how you're seeing it play out for the most part?
Heidenheim. That's definitely the biggest surprise. Losing a lot of their really good players. Obviously, they've got an amazing coach in Frank Schmidt who has created such a great culture there. I don't think that they're going to be a Champions League side by the end of the year. I think that's definitely the most surprising. Other than them, I mean, Leverkusen dropping the game against Leipzig maybe is somewhat surprising, although I predicted Leipzig to do pretty well this year. So it's not the worst loss ever if you're going to lose a game. Yeah, otherwise, the mid-table's pretty much where I thought it'd be. I think that eventually Stuttgart will rise up the table a bit. Their offense is really clicking. Demirovic has fit in perfectly with them. I
Yeah.
think they were a little bit unlucky to draw against Mainz. They were definitely the better side in that game. And with a win there, they'd be up into fourth. So, I think that Stuttgart and Heidenheim will flip, and other than that, it's about where I expected the league to be.
So yeah, we'll cover in what's coming up this weekend, both for the men, our men, and the around the Bundesliga. But for right now, we'll pause on Bundesliga talk to talk about a staple segment here at the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast, and that is hashtag What Are We Drinking? John, I will have you lead things off. It is about 9:40 here, and you and I are both in Eastern time zones. We are in the very near end of summer here.
Yep.
It's a gorgeous day in September. It is my mother's birthday. Happy birthday, Sherry. So,
Happy birthday.
What are you enjoying this fine evening with beverage wise?
Right now, I have a Hofbrauhaus Fest beer. It's pretty tasty, light, easy drinking, but good flavor. So, enjoying that.
Nice. I went to Kroger after seeing my mom, and, benefits of the Kroger by me is there's also a KFC, so I felt like getting a famous bowl.
Nice.
I also got I've mentioned this beverage company before. I got a wonderful gallon of, this time, unsweetened iced tea from Milo's Tea Company. I highly recommend, especially for those that are looking for like whether they're being mindful about something, whether it's price or ingredients, Milo's unsweetened tea or sweet tea, you literally can get a gallon of that, and it was like $3.99. And so I think it's a great value for that, and it hits the spot on this evening. So whatever you're drinking, whenever you're drinking it, here to all from us at Hey Eintracht Frankfurt, to you, we say Prost. And with that, we will be right back for segment 2 of Hey Eintracht Frankfurt. Welcome back to Hey Eintracht Frankfurt. Garret here in Metro Detroit. John in Delaware. We talked about the men and what they had this past weekend in segment 1. Now it's time to cover the Frauen, even though we might not want to cover all of it. Little bit of therapy time. It's been an interesting couple of weeks for the Frauen. So a couple weeks ago they were in Iceland for the qualification for the Women's Champions League tournament. We thought we would be able to see the first of the tournament matches on Wednesday, but unfortunately we do not live in Germany, Austria, or Switzerland, so therefore we were denied access to the game. Probably for good reason. John, tell us why.
Yeah, we went up against Sporting, and we knew this was going to be a tough game going into it. Sporting are a very solid side, and we ended up losing 2-0. Now their second goal came in stoppage time, but still, that's just an absolutely heartbreaking loss. Our ambition is really to make it out of the group in the Champions League. I think that's where we want to be. It's where I expect us to be. I think it's where other hosts of the show expect us to be. And to go out in the first game of the qualifying tournament is really tough. Don't get me wrong, that was also probably the toughest matchup we could have drawn in one of the qualifying mini tournaments. But again, if we want to be there, we have to beat Sporting. It's a very difficult qualifying tournament because you just have one chance, and it's not like you get to play a home and an away leg and feel out a team and figure out what you need the next game. It's just one game, we lose and we're out.
Yeah, and I think the thing for me too, that I think I was frustrated, it was almost like I'd be frustrated, but I almost feel like I'd be even more frustrated if I watched the match. If we had the thing on there, because I felt like once we realized that we were losing this battle and not being able to watch this match, which I think if DAZN, who does have the Women's Champions League rights, I do think some form of statements need to be made, because I'm guessing that coverage for them starts at the group stage. But when you have a club with international fans, especially with international fans who spend amount of time, I think, covering this club,
and against the side with that as well.
Yeah, you got to give something, and whether it was due to, I'll admit, because I was taking a look at all the other tournament places, Arsenal hosted one, I forget, a handful of other places, and it was, in there, was it there? I'm not sure. But without the communication, we're all left to determine what this reason was. And
now, I will say, in terms of the Arsenal one, since you mentioned it, they were showing the matches on their own YouTube without blocking anything. So maybe that is on Eintracht for not allowing the match to be shown in places other than Germany, Austria, Switzerland. But again, these rights, if DAZN owns them, they should be showing these matches in one way or another. They show all of the Champions League group stage matches on their YouTube channel. Why not show them all? You can get the broadcast from the teams and show them on your YouTube.
Yeah, and I think if you're trying to grow the game, especially the women's game, especially when you look at women's sports, especially not just in the US, but maybe globally, there's I think a demand for it in a way that hasn't been in a while.
Yeah.
You would think this is a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, I would think so, especially with the interest in the US. Soccer has just absolutely exploded here, and especially with how the NWSL has done, it's brought a lot more attention to women's football overall, and there's a demand here to watch these matches.
Yeah, and even USL Super League too.
It's just started up. Yep.
Yeah, and because you can even watch that on Peacock, and granted, it's different here because we have 2 first division leagues in this country as opposed to middle, but if we want to talk about U.S. soccer, we would be talking until the early morning hours tomorrow. There's not enough time nor therapy to talk about that. But it makes the point simple. It makes the point, though, like, further across. It's like, what's the issue with people getting the access to see this? They won their third place tournament match. They took on in that one FC Minsk. 6-0 winners. So did we win our last group stage game 6-0 after we lost to Barcelona on my birthday? I feel like we did.
It was something along those lines. It might have been like 5-1, or I forget the exact scoreline, but yeah, we beat Rosengard pretty handily.
September 11th, taking on Erste FFA Erfurt in the DFB Pokal Frauen. Mm-hmm. Coming out 10-0 winners. Yeesh. Got anything you want to throw on that one other than the Erfurt was on the highway to the danger zone?
Yeah, I mean, they're a Regional Liga side, and if we didn't come out and beat them pretty handily, I would have been a little upset. At the same time, I wasn't expecting 10-0. I think the first half was 4-0 or something along those lines, and then just went completely off in the second half and won that 10-0. Not super surprising, and I'm just glad that we did that. We had a lot of squad rotation in both the Minsk and the Erfurt game, which is good to see. Let players get some minutes, rest up for the match against Leverkusen.
How do you feel about the draw? Union Berlin looks like November.
Yeah, I'm not excited for that one. I know that they just got promoted to the Zweite Frauen Bundesliga, but they're a side who didn't lose a single game last year. They've come in, I believe they're in 3rd or 4th, something around there in the Zweite Liga, and they just knocked out Leipzig in the second round of the Frauen Pokal. I'm not excited to take them on. We'll see where our team is, because there's a lot of time until that game, and obviously we will not have Champions League matches in between now and then. So hopefully we'll have a full team ready and clicking when that match comes up. But I definitely think it's going to be a difficult game. They don't allow a lot.
Right. Remind me, because I haven't fully seen. Are we hosting, or do we got to go to Berlin?
I don't know. I would assume it'd be away, but I haven't seen. I don't know if they do automatic away matches for top division or not when it comes to second league for Frauen and Pokal.
Let me see here. We got to go.
Yeah, I figured we'd probably be away. Hopefully it'll be in Stadion der Alten Forsterei. That would be very cool.
Yeah, that is a cool venue. If I do make it back to Germany soon and I can go to Berlin for a Frankfurt away match, I would love to be at that venue. I think one, where it's at, and two, the story of it. There's a bit of character to it, which I think those in the U.S. that know of it appreciate it. So I feel like that's something that can, especially in the Frauen, when you're especially trying to tell a story of the Frauen German game, I think that's definitely would be a great story. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously when we get closer to that match, we'll break it down, kind of see where we're at, kind of see where Union is at, and to go from there, to then move it back to what just took place in the Frauen Bundesliga yesterday. Frankfurt went to Leverkusen, took on Bayer Leverkusen, had to work, fell behind 2 after 25. Reutler in the 47th, Chiba in the 58th, salvages a point. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it wasn't actually a bad match. I think we were definitely the better side in it. Their first goal was on their first attack. They put a cross in. Kleinherne isn't able to defend two players at once. Boom, right. First goal. Their second goal, free kick, player left wide open, perfect. I mean, just headed the ball right over Johannes into the far top post. There wasn't much, Stina Johannes could have done on either of those goals. And then both of the other shots on goal that Leverkusen had in the game were very easy for her to handle. Reutler getting one back right before halftime was huge. Great ball from Dunst into her. And then in the second half, they probably should have had a penalty. Volter did have a handball in the box, but Carolina Wilhelmsdotter had run into her, and so they ended up calling a foul on her rather than the penalty, thankfully for us. And then bringing in Yomi and Chiba in to the match not long after that, they immediately scored a goal within a minute of coming on. They really changed the game and created some more chances after that. It was good. It was an okay match, I would say. Some of our passing was a bit sloppy. We need to clean up some things, but overall, an all right effort. Our fans were amazing during the game. They were the only fans you could hear, which is what you would hope to expect from a Frankfurt traveling side. It could have been better. It's a game we should be winning, but Leverkusen are a tough side. They're a very good side, and it's going to be quite a challenge this year.
Agreed. And I think when I think of the two fixtures Frankfurt and Leverkusen had last year, 2-2 Frankfurt hosting, Leverkusen drew late, I think in stoppage time or close to that, if I recall right, and won 3-1 over Frankfurt, which I think was the Adler's last loss in the campaign.
I think so.
So we know it's a difficult out. 1,193 was the announced attendance for that. So when you were mentioning it, Frankfurt supporters were making the noise. That's great to hear, obviously. We could, people be like, oh, supporters numbers. But again, it's, you're seeing this game grow. You get what you get. You get what you put in as far as some of the numbers. And I think more people are coming to Frauen Bundesliga games more and more. Some clubs quicker than others. So, So that's kind of there. Real quick to go around the Frauen Bundesliga, what took place over the weekend. Bayern Munich started things off on Friday with a 6-2 win over RB Leipzig. And then we had on Saturday the two matches, FC Karl Jena 0, VfL Wolfsburg 1, Werder Bremen 2, Turbine Potsdam 0. Leverkusen-Frankfurt was one of the two matches yesterday. Both of them were 2-2. So Leverkusen-Frankfurt 2-2, FC Köln, SGS Essen 2-2. And then the one fixture today, Hoffenheim 2, Freiburg 3. So after two matches, Bayern Munich 2 for 2, 6 points. Werder Bremen is the team in second on goal difference based off of goals scored. There are four teams tied with 4 points: Werder Bremen, Eintracht Frankfurt, Bayer Leverkusen, VfL Wolfsburg. Freiburg, Hoffenheim, Leipzig, 6th, 7th, and 8th, each with 3 points. Two teams with 1 point: SKS Essen at 9th, FC Köln at 10th, and SC Karl Jena and next to bottom with 0 points. No goal scored, 3 allowed. Turbine Potsdam, no goals scored, 4 allowed, 2 losses. So they're the ones that are rock bottom, and they are also going to be the ones that are the next opponents for the Frauen. Sunday morning, September 22nd, 8 a.m. in the morning. Hopefully DAZN has this on, maybe. I sound like fucking Oasis.
Yeah, it seems like DAZN's showing one game per day, and I have a feeling they'll be showing Wolfsburg versus Köln rather than our game that day.
Rude, that's what I'm saying. Even though Wolfsburg Köln's at a respectable 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Turbine Potsdam, Eintracht Frankfurt. It is a rivalry, especially when you look at the Frauen's prior history as Erste FFC Frankfurt. How are you feeling about this one going in Sunday? Do you feel like this should be a rebound opportunity, or do we need to put some more respect on Potsdam's name?
I think you should always respect your opponent. You can never take a game too lightly. You can't go in just expecting to win. That said, obviously Potsdam are not a good side. They brought in a couple players over the summer, but again, they don't really have the resources to bring in very established players. I know they brought in one of our second team's strikers, but yeah, it should be an opportunity to rebound with a win. I'm hoping that we play with Anyomi from the start. This past game we had Reuteler actually playing in one of the striker positions to begin with, and it wasn't really working. Finally, when Nico switched Freigang for Reuteler in terms of where they were playing on the field, things started to work a bit better. But I would like to see Anyomi out there from the start, put some pressure on them, and score some goals. It's an opportunity for us to find our offensive game a bit better. Obviously we've scored a lot of goals in the past couple matches, but not against the highest competition. And hopefully our defensive line stays solid. Obviously Potsdam doesn't have any goals yet this year, and hopefully we don't allow them to have their first.
Players that I'm looking at the FOTMob ratings from the match with Leverkusen, and most of our players are in the green here. If there's any that should I be concerned for Lara Prashnikar? Seems to be like the lowest. Johannes was 6.1 in goal, and then Volter and Prashnikar 6.4. Or do you feel like it was just a day where she wasn't really going to be getting anything based off of what Leverkusen was, their scheme, and so forth?
I think one of the reasons that Prashnikar's rating might have been low was obviously she was playing on the left side in attack, and obviously you've got Dunst out on that side, who didn't have her normal game. She played well, but had some misplaced crosses. She kind of overcooked a few of them. But you also had Nadine Reason playing on that side, and I didn't think that she had a great game either. She was okay and advanced the ball all right, but her passing was very questionable at times. I think hopefully Nina Larson can get fully healthy soon, because I think we need her to be out on that left side, and then I think that will help unlock Prashnikar, because she didn't really even have a chance to receive the ball a lot. And so with very few touches, I think it's hard for an attacking player to have a good rating.
Yeah, and I'm also looking too, like you're seeing Reutler, I think you were saying playing higher up. Part of it is because Sense is in there. Your
Yeah,
midfield three of Sense, Gravo in the center, and then Dunst. So
yeah, because they played the diamond with Grava at the bottom, Dunst and Sense on this, left and right, and then Fragging up top. And then after Leverkusen's second goal, Nico switched Fragging with Reutler, and it started to work a lot better. And then, of course, later in the game, he brought on Anyomi and Chiba, and that was for Prashnikar and Grava, and then pushed Sense back into the bottom of the diamond, Reutler back out to a normal position on the right, and things really started to work.
yeah, and I think the interesting thing about that even too, Gravo was subbed off in the 57th, but she has tied for basically the second highest rating with Sense and Reutler.
Yeah, she had a good game.
8.1. Yeah, so I think it was probably at that moment unfortunate that Gravo probably knew that this team's chasing a goal. You got to get an attack on. You're the one that's unfortunately at that moment. But
yeah, essentially you're going to take her Sense off and take your pick.
Yeah,
but anyway, yes,
especially when you can put somebody else in that six in the diamond. So, do you have a scoreline for what you're thinking of for Potsdam?
I'll go with 2-0. I think that's how both of Potsdam's games this year have gone. Give me Anyomi, give me Fragging.
All right. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think you can't take Potsdam lightly, especially at home. I do think it'll be. I agree with you. You got to play Anyomi. I understand, like slowly winning her into the games, coming back from the Olympics and so forth like that. But now you got to give her a full 90 and ready to run. I'll go 2-0 with you too.
There's no saving anyone for Champions League now, so why not play her?
I'm gonna go. I'll go Prashnikar and Yomi for my two. I think, it seems like Lara Prashnikar, whenever she doesn't have a game that's, I think, to her standard, she quickly wants to make amends either as a provider or a goal scorer. So I see her as a goal scorer in that one. 3 points is 3 points in the end. We've talked about it in the group circles. It's probably good we could talk about it on there. How much of a hot seat is Nico on now this year?
Losing a Sporting like that definitely puts him on the hot seat, I think. Now, whether the team feels that same way, I don't know. But the pressure from the fans, I think, is there. And I think it's very fair to put him on the hot seat.
Yeah, and I think it's a statement of intent, I think.
Yeah.
To me, is Eintracht Frankfurt going to settle consistently being the third best club in the Frauen Bundesliga? Or are they going to want to adapt and carry on the pedigree that Erste FFC Frankfurt used to have and reclaim that spot that they used to in the olden days of Frauen football? I think agree with you that you can get third all you want, but unless there's no trophy, either somehow Frauen or if you win the Pokal, then it is. You got to come up with at least a succession plan.
Yeah, and if we don't even get third, then I don't think it's any question. He has to be sacked.
Yeah, the writing's on the wall at that point, and I think no disrespect to the Bremens or the Leverkusens in that, because I really think those two maybe even Hoffenheim, maybe the only ones to really pip for third.
Yeah, I think Hoffenheim will figure it out. I was kind of surprised to see them lose today, but they've got a good side. I would not be surprised if they're right there with us for third at the end.
So plenty to look out for. Again, that matchup, Turbine Potsdam, Eintracht Frankfurt Frauen, 8 a.m. Eastern, Sunday morning, 7 Central. That sucks if you're on the Pacific. I mean, 5 a.m. yeesh. Hope the coffee's strong or whatever you're drinking in the morning for that. Or if you're going out somewhere and the bar's not closed, stay up. You're probably better off with that. I mean, Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. Rotating back to the men, how we started off the show. Eintracht Frankfurt back in the friendly confines this weekend. Back am Herzen von Europa. Back at the Waldstadion. Also back, Topspiel, 12:30 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
This Saturday, September 21st. I have both my Eagles playing at 12:30. I have Frankfurt-Monchengladbach, and I got Crystal Palace Manchester United. I think we're doing City Clubhouse in Detroit. Be on the lookout there too. Eintracht Frankfurt Detroit Twitter account. We'll drop some bits there. But big matchup, 2 in a row now for Adler on the roll. Scoring goals, looking like they're having fun out there. Take it on the Mönchengladbach side that's lost. That's 1-1, lost 2. They have scored some goals, 5 scored, 6 allowed. Tim Kleindienst, who they joined the Foles from Heidenheim with 2 goals. Alessandro Play did bag a goal, however, he had to leave due to injury, so it did not look like it was a good one. So I think he basically, I think it was a collision, and then he immediately got subbed out after the goal. But you still have also Kevin Stoger, who they, joined from VfL Bochum, Frank Honorat. So they have some guys there, but they have given up goals. How much are you looking forward to this fixture?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really good game. Mönchengladbach has a decent side. You know, they got a number of chances against Stuttgart. It looks like I wasn't able to watch that game, but they played Leverkusen really well and obviously beat Bochum. Kleindienst has fit in there perfectly.
Right.
The dude is playing really well. So I'm a little bit worried. They're able to create chances, I think, better than Wolfsburg this year. So it could be a challenge for our defensive line, and I think that's good. You know, our defensive line has played well this year. Let's give them a challenge.
We automatically know Koa Santos is going to be in goal.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see any changes to the starting 11, especially as we have one of our first Europa contests after Mönchengladbach?
I would really like, I don't think it's going to happen, but I would really like to see either Chaibi or Knauf start over Götze, and I would like to see Mo Dahoud in over Skiri. I think that face mask and cheek injury is holding him back right now. He didn't look great against Wolfsburg. Not a terrible performance, but not a good one. So I'd like to see Dahoud in. I want to see what he can bring to us. I think that he can be a very good addition. And I think we just need some more speed on the right side over Götze.
What are you feeling about as far as Nathaniel Brown? I think you guys have mentioned it. There might be some rumors that he might not be completely thrilled so far. Obviously, some changes happened. He was brought in, been figured he was coming in, and then William Pacho gets Frankfurt that sweet PSG money, and Arthur Theat joins the club. A little bit of a change in shape back to what we've known. Or do you feel like it's just a long season, nothing to worry about yet?
Yeah, I think that he's a little upset because he came in as a left back and then we started playing in that back 3 and he's not seen any minutes. I think, though, seeing that shift to a back 4 and seeing how well it worked for us with Nkunku playing as more of a midfielder, that Brown can find himself back into the squad. Obviously, he was not even put into the matchday squad this weekend, which was a little surprising to me, but I think that now if we do really run with a back 4, we'll see him come into the lineup for Teate maybe at points, or Teate moves to center and Tuta up to midfield at points. It could happen. I don't know. I'm not really sure what to think about Brown either as a player. I didn't really get to watch a lot of Nuremberg games last year, but he was a very consistent player for them, obviously playing in that left-back role. I think he's still got a part to play with us. He's still really young, so I'd like to see him in at some point, but I don't think that that's going to happen this weekend.
You made a good point about Tuta. Tuta became put into the middle of the pitch at near the end on Saturday's match.
Yep.
Amenda came on, and I think that was for Hugo Larsson, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So I'm feeling like especially that might be where Teat can play left side of the back three.
Yep.
He could play as a fullback. He could play as and even he started off as a striker. And that you can still see his attacking tendencies. That header that he was going away from the goal and yet somehow clanked post. I also feel like too that we are. I think this is getting used to us for at least in the Eintracht Frankfurt side. We got numbers. Like, I'm thinking, like, you were talking about Nathaniel Brown didn't make the squad on Saturday. I'm thinking about Kamuzen. I'm thinking about Hoyland when he comes back. I'm thinking about Mbembe. I'm thinking about, you know what I mean? It's just like...
We have a deep squad. We have a really deep squad. Obviously, it's very young. A lot of unproven guys on that bench, but a lot of talent. And... I hope that we can really use a lot of these guys. I know some are going to be upset because there's not the possibility of using them all every game. That's just the way it works in this sport. But we've got a lot of games, and I think that they'll all get used at some point.
Taking a look at the what looks like the announced Europa League squad, ESPN has it on their website. I'll be curious to see because there were 3 keepers announced on the squad. Coa Santos, Jens Grau, Kevin Trapp. Although with Trapp's injury, I wonder if that opens up Simeone?
Well, Simone's on a loan at Ingolstadt, so yeah.
So that'll be interesting there. Defenders: Teat, Koch, Amanda, Christensen, Brown, and Kuku, Amanda Collins, Tuta, Unguene. Midfielders: Oscar Hoyland, Shaibi, Skiri, Larson, Dahoud, Uzun, Timothy Chandler. The next to Kevin Trapp, one of the Adler pillars, Dina Mbembe, Mario Götze, and then a sort of murderer's row in attack. Marmish Matanovic at the Ekatike, Bahoya, Lichis, and Knopf. So Europa starts what? I believe it starts on the 25th or the 26th. I'm bringing it up right now. And that is, we have, the Thursday the 26th, 3 p.m. Victoria Pilsen. I do wonder when the Adler is going to officially announce what I believe is their ice cream Europa League kits this year.
Boy. I mean, you'd think they would have already done that, but...
Yeah, other teams are doing it, but you know what? You know what I'm looking forward to? I'm looking forward to potentially wanting to really like that kit and then seeing that fucking Nike template where the shoulders cut off like in that orange kit, and then I'm just like, hashtag continuing the bit. Looking forward to Adidas. Hashtag 3-stripe life.
Oh, gosh.
The tradition, it's like my hitting streak right now. I got to keep this shit going. So now let's go quickly around the Bundesliga. Friday, Augsburg Mainz. That is the first matchup of the weekend fixtures, 2:30 p.m. Saturday, we have Bochum Holstein Kiel. Somebody's got to get something out of that match, right? I mean, or a draw or a meteor. Who knows? Heidenheim Freiburg 9:30. That's gonna be. I think that's actually gonna be a fun matchup. Union Berlin Hoffenheim at 9:30. Werder Bremen hosting Bayern Munich. Bayern's had some fun at Werder lately. Werder won at Bayern, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. Mitchell Weiser, I think, had a goal in that to win it. That was cool.
Bayern. As mentioned, the Tippspiel is Frankfurt-Monchengladbach, 12:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. Let's go. We got 3 fixtures on Sunday. Leverkusen-Wolfsburg, 9:30. Heavyweight, maybe dare I say the heavyweight fixture of the weekend, Stuttgart-Dortmund, 11:30 Eastern on Sunday. You feel like me? I feel like maybe Stuttgart messes things up for Dortmund.
I think they could. The game's in Stuttgart, so it's definitely a game that Dortmund I could see them dropping.
Stuttgart do open up their Champions League account tomorrow afternoon, 3 p.m. at Stadio Bernabeu against the defending champs, Real Madrid. I think there'll be questions asked of Stuttgart. Can they handle the Champions League competition? I think when you look at Stuttgart as a somewhat occasionally, although it hasn't been seen over the past decade plus, somebody that when I got into the game they were considered a German powerhouse. They're back where many feel like they belong in the Champions League, and I think that's going to motivate. If that ain't going to motivate the crowd, it's going to damn sure motivate the fan base. So, I think that will be interesting. So that one is 11:30 Stuttgart Dortmund on Sunday, and then St. Pauli hosts RB Leipzig at 1:30 p.m. on Sunday. Although let's be honest, the Lions don't play till 4:25 Eastern for me, but Detroit City plays 3 against Louisville, which I could voice. I'm not going to be at Keyworth but you can hear that in my other Detroit City centric adventures. And yeah, that's it for the around the Bundesliga. Any other fixtures of what I've just mentioned, John, that you're excited for? I know we talked about obviously ours versus Mönchengladbach, and Heidenheim, Freiburg, Stuttgart, Dortmund. But what else? Is there any others that you're potentially eyeing this weekend to keep an eye on?
I don't know necessarily about the Bundesliga, but, you mentioned the Champions League starting up, and Stuttgart going to Real Madrid. That is just being thrown to the wolves. I'm excited to see Stuttgart back in the Champions League. I hope they do well. I'll definitely be tuned into that game, but I'm not holding my breath for Stuttgart in that one, that's for sure.
I'm taking a look at other Bundesliga clubs in the Champions League this week. Bayern Munich host Dinamo Zagreb tomorrow at 3 p.m. On Wednesday, Dortmund go to Club Brugge in Belgium. On Thursday, Leverkusen go to Feyenoord. That's at 12:45. RB Leipzig's got to go to Atletico Madrid at 3 o'clock. So I think
That
there's
should
going to
be
be
a
some.
good game.
Yeah, I really think there's going to be some interesting stuff on there. I was going to say, if you're wanting to pop out of the Bundesliga, yeah, this is me being completely biased. Crystal Palace, Man United. Man United, are they on the right track? Are they struggling? Especially for Oliver Glasner and the Crystal Palace side. If Palace people are freaking out, this is how Oliver Glasner team starts every single year, dude. The signs are there. They just got to get rid of the self-inflicted errors. Go to a bar that has both ESPN Plus and NBC and watch both those matches.
Palace should definitely be playing Combat a bit more, in my opinion.
I really think that might be a possibility now because Jake Decore got subbed off in the
I saw that.
So, for anyone that's going to be, I will see Daichi Kamada playing probably a bit deeper, kind of like what he was doing his last season with Frankfurt, especially with Eddie Nketiah joining in the attack. Because Bayern Munich decided to activate Michael Olise's release clause. Thanks for the money, but that still hurts. I miss that dude.
Man. And then him. I just want to say one thing about Michael Olise. It was he came on as a sub and then scored for Bayern against Kiel. And 50 Plus Donor had retweeted tweeted out a couple of years ago about how Bayern will be beating your ass and then bring on a sub that makes more than your entire team who scores. Michael Olise is making, I believe, 12 million this year. Holstein Kiel's entire roster makes 8 million. It is just insane.
To give you an idea, Crystal Palace. So, you just said Elise is making 12 million at Bayern this year, which that dude deserves all of it. But to give you a rundown, Palace activated his buyout clause at Reading for £8 million 3 years prior, which tells you how.
Highest, yeah.
What were you going to say is the highest? You think?
I was saying our highest paid players are, I believe, Guts, Trapp, and Ekatike are all making around 3.5 million or so.
Yeah, life in the top of the Bundesliga really creates a power gap. Bayern Dortmund in particular, but I'm also wondering, there might be some good financial talks for one of those special episodes. Well, especially because I want to see like how how much more bank the Leverkusen folk are getting after that
Yeah.
they had last year. But yeah, that's plenty to be interested on there. A lot of football to look forward to this week, especially for the Mana and the Frauen of Eintracht Frankfurt. But we got to call it for tonight. We've had fun, but we could talk all night. We may try that one day, but let's not. It's only Monday. John, where can anyone check out any of your stuff on the socials, which you do also provide some quality bands?
I appreciate it. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Ben_JBen. A lot of Eintracht thoughts on there, but also a lot of European football, American football, hockey, everything sports related on there. And then my Instagram, JohnBen33. Not as much fun stuff on there, though.
You're talking about sports stuff. Have you talked about your Miami Marlins lately?
No, I prefer to not talk about them.
I mean, you're not.
I already tweet enough to press stuff about my Jaguars, so it's all right.
Could be worse. For anyone that we know is a Chicago White Sox fan.
Yeah,
I'm not sorry.
Oh boy.
But yeah, you can find me Twitter, Instagram, Discord at GM Comats. Eintracht Frankfurt Detroit. That is at Detroit SGE as mentioned. Finalizing details. Because believe it or not, I didn't realize that we're at 12:30 also. So now that that's going to be happening. I think it's going to be Detroit City Clubhouse, but look for a finalized tweet for that account the next couple days. If you're also wanting to check out some other sports sicko stuff for us, we have the Majors Detroit Sports in there too. Chris actually joined a couple weeks ago to talk college football preview. That is at TMSNX Detroit, YouTube at the Majors TV, and then Detroit City for if you want lower league American sicko stuff. Channel 451 at 451DET on Twitter, 451 Detroit, also part on the Majors website. So a lot of cool stuff going in the ranks there. I'm surprised I'm still standing or sitting in this case. So we also want to give a shout out to Hey Eintracht Frankfurt's YouTube channel. Should be getting some more stuff going on back in there, whether it's recaps, updates, fun stuff in that. Also want to give a shout out to producer Nathan for all that he's covering, at taking the time to edit all these episodes and get them to all the respective faces in there. Miles in Minnesota for all the graphic and branding. Matt in New York, who for the Instagram, congratulations to that dude. He's getting married this weekend. Proud of you, dude. All that stuff. It's going to be a joy. And your Jets won this weekend too. Great job, bud. Chris and Brian in Kansas City for running the ship and dealing with our shenanigans, and Chris as well for also sort of dealing with, and dare I say, encouraging my shenanigans and yours as well, John. So yeah, I think we've covered about everybody. If we didn't, just let me know and, we'll review it later. But for John in Delaware, Garret here in Michigan, and to anyone else checking this out, thank you for checking out another episode of the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, auf Wiedersehen, und tschüss.
That was an ass whooping.
Oh, God.
Frankfurt, sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. Hey, Eintracht Frankfurt, sha-la-la-la-la-la-la.